Yeah, we're gonna burn through this one. Let's hit the intro. Once again, it's time to open your ears and expand your mind. Or maybe it's dull your mind. Either way, I think these boys have something to say. So sit back, grab a brew, we're going to have some too, and give you our point of view here on Talkin' Brap. Welcome back. Talkin' Brap, Season 3, Episode 5. So, we have all had our asses kicked for the last few days. We're going to hammer one out here tonight. We just got a couple of Pan Americas in for the first time. This is the first time all of us have gotten to see it, all the dealerships. They pretty much all shipped around the same time, so... for especially the technicians, this is the first time we've got to put our hands on one. And
a couple of you got to ride them.
Yeah,
it was fun.
And that kind of sparked the topic, part of the topic for tonight, which is that Pan America, because there's a lot of expectation behind that bike. If you're reading about it and you're learning about it, there's a lot of hype because there's a lot to it.
Yeah, well,
there's a lot going on.
Harley will fuck it up.
I hope not, because it's fun right now.
So is the Livewire.
Yeah.
You know what I was impressed?
The Livewire would be awesome, and they'd sell the fuck out of them if it was $10,000 cheaper.
Yeah, I had never heard one. And
the Livewire? They don't make any noise.
No. The Pan America.
Oh.
Come on, man. You're late. Hit the goddamn button. That was funny.
Oh, it made me choke on my whiskey.
Well played.
We'll leave that up. Sorry.
All right. But Shane came ripping in the parking lot. Safely entered the parking lot at posted speed. And I was really surprised, man. The thing had the sound that you'd come to expect from
kind of
a Harley V-twin. I thought it was going to sound very metric.
It does. So that's kind of one of the things that I think I'm going to say my expectations were a little bit different in the sound of the motor.
Why?
I don't know. For the most part, Harley's been pretty good. Yeah, but the V-Rod motor was super quiet.
To me, it sounded like
well, it wasn't if you put exhaust on it.
No, the motor itself.
The motor itself. So when they designed this motor, you're into the theory that laying your parts in a basket, in an oil, can or whatever, wet sumping a motor kills horsepower and efficiency. So the whole motor is designed for around the crankshaft, around the clutch, around everything else. There's like baffles, but everything is designed to drain oil away pretty quickly. I think there's three scavenge pumps, right? Yeah, just scavenge pumps. There's 3 scavenge pumps that pull oil from different areas. So the motor has inherent noise. It to me, it reminds me of like a Ducati almost, or
the 1125 Buell.
The 1125 Buell, very much. The Rotax motor. Yes, they sound very much like a Rotax motor. But the performance of the motor completely outweighs any sound.
You think Eric Buell's like watching those commercials going, I won that dodgeball tournament.
Fucking Chuck Norris.
Well, every once in a while you'll see when they're like,
he designed it.
the first American
Ulysses.
adventure touring bike, and you'll see every once in a while somebody will comment, "What about the Buell? What about the Ulysses?"
the
and it's
Buell
like, yeah,
Ulysses.
we did this already, and that was a cool bike too, actually.
He actually, I'm pretty sure the Buell Ulysses was the very first machine in that entire riding segment. I'm pretty sure he was ahead of BMW and everybody.
Yep.
The Buell Ulysses was the first adventure touring motorcycle
oil
ever
and
made.
swing arm, the fuel and frame, the chassis rigidity, the low weight, the underslung
Yeah.
exhaust. That's all Eric Buell.
So-
and now everybody uses it.
And then you know what? Fuck that guy.
we're hurting for money, and we didn't promote your product well,
And-
so we're just gonna shit can
And you know what? Everybody loves the FXR, and it sucks. You're
Yep.
out.
Yep.
He designed the FXR frame.
Yeah, and
That was his first project.
so I've never gotten to actually like go ride an FXR. I've ridden an FXR.
Are you not allowed to find out if the Ulysses was first? This site cannot be reached.
Technical difficulties.
I don't know how to spell Ulysses, so I'm just gonna get
There it
close.
is.
ULY.
Yeah,
It
whatever.
auto corrected.
Yeah, I know. Google's smarter than I am.
Yeah, go to look.
Here we go.
Go to Wikipedia.
That's what I was
The-
looking
the
for.
Nazi fan page.
Cycle
The Nazi
World, the
fan
Nazi fan page. Wait, can I just do?
Probably not a Wikipedia because they can't lie about it.
Fuck.
So, anyways, we've introduced a lot of technology on this bike.
Yeah.
Well, okay, how much did we? Well, we didn't introduce it. Harley,
for Harley,
yeah,
There's
Harley
really no-
incorporated
yeah,
a lot
There's
of
nothing
technology.
new
No, there's nothing
tech-wise
new.
in this
No,
bike,
no,
but
no.
for a Harley, there is a lot of new tech.
Now,
Yeah.
Harley, when they designed this motor, they thought about a lot of stuff, and this bike is pretty serviceable. The motor is in the frame. Anything like
No
cams,
valve lash.
Yeah, no valve lash. You can do the cams in the frame without pulling the cam chains, which sounds really weird, but that's the way it's designed.
They're trying to freeze us out, boys.
But
They took our
Replace spokes on
yeah,
the bike.
if you're doing much more than that, you got to pull it out, and that's a job. There's a whole like frame jig thing that you put on the side of your lift and all this stuff.
Which we don't have.
You know what?
We
though?
will have it.
You know what though? Yeah, they're gonna make us buy one that will only
Yeah, they
use
will.
one time in the next 15 years.
Yeah.
And then when we use it, we'll be like, I don't even know how this fucking thing works. And
No.
half the parts.
Well, that was the thing that crossed my mind. Like sales. What do you really think sales are going to be? Because I gave that bike a real solid look, and I was like, I maybe could see myself on it. But
Go
then I
ride
thought,
it.
I know
That's
I need to
the
ride
thing.
one.
After
But
riding
then I
one,
thought
I'm
to
like,
myself, man,
I could do this.
between that and the Lowrider
I know,
S,
but you know what I
I
don't
don't know,
understand
man.
though? You know what I don't understand? And this is where Harley fucks the dog every time. Why don't they just make a performance bagger?
yes,
Yes.
Why
agreed,
don't
yes.
they just make products that
Yes.
people that ride Harleys want? That Revival, it looks like a fucking hideous piece of trash. They're all sold, all of them.
All of them,
all
yeah.
1,500 of them are gone.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like an old Dual Glide.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
I get it. It's cool. I mean,
Yeah,
I can see
but-
1,500 people are going to do that every year. Whatever they make, they're
But
going to
now
buy.
they're with the Pan America, they're trying to they're marketing to an audience that is not a Harley audience, and they don't know how to market to them, because if they knew how to market to them, the V-Rod would be one of the best-selling Harley Davidsons in the fleet.
There is-
Show us
Because in
us
Europe-
both a road
In
glide
Europe,
and a street
everybody
glide.
loves the V-Rod. In Europe, it's one
Yeah.
of the most popular Harley
Yeah.
Davidsons because there aren't a bunch of nostalgic Harley iconic riders and dealerships saying, "Well, you don't want this thing. It's fucking Porsche. And it's
Now,
not
I have
even
a friend
American."
of the family that's retired, and all he does is adventure touring stuff. He goes on about 3 big rides a year with
Mhm.
his wife, and that's all they do is they just travel and ride. And I messaged him the other night after riding that, and I was like, "Hey, man, got to ride that new Harley. You should check it out." And he's like, "I'm actually been waiting for one to come in a local dealership to go test ride it because I'm actually looking at it because
Yeah.
he's an old
Cool.
Harley guy. He left Harley to go do the adventure tour stuff." And now that he has an option to go back to a Harley doing adventure tour with all the tech it has, because it has a lot of tech that other bikes don't, like the heads-up display that you can put maps on and do all that kind of stuff. So they do have some things that other bikes don't have.
Right, but the only reason the other bikes don't have that is because they're blowing their wad on this bike.
This bike's actually pretty comparable in price to the
Well,
KTM.
I know,
and
but I'm talking
Yes.
about
And it's not that
the
bad.
display. Like the display that came out on the Livewire, I was like, why don't every freaking
Yes.
Harley they make have this
The
display?
display is
Yeah.
killer.
Yeah.
You know, and this one- and this one
America's
has
even
it.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Gun
America's
American's got that,
amazing,
and then you know what we Harman Kardon sold the Samsung, and so you're like, oh wow, look, now we have to reset the service intervals every time. And it's like the only freaking improvement really that they made.
yeah,
You know,
Well,
that-
yeah,
it's
but
like,
that newer radio is snappier.
The interface,
Yeah,
well,
the
sure,
interface is
sure,
better.
but
The
it's
touchscreen.
nothing like that, and it could be. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like they're going to have to
yeah.
redesign
It's-
everything.
It's definitely like dulled out, dumbed down. It's not
Yeah.
super advanced. So
The
speaking of that,
the maps still suck.
I
It's still
just
super complicated to hook your phone to, and it's so complicated to use the touring stuff. And it's like they took all of every good idea they had and they put it into a bike in the tiniest segment of rider that Harley
Well,
even has.
yeah, well, that we don't have anything yet. We're about to. Yeah,
there's
yeah,
there's a sliver.
yeah.
There's the guys that are waiting, the adventure touring guys that are like, yeah, I used to be a Harley guy, and then I got pissed off because all they make is fucking big
Right.
heavy road bikes,
Then
yeah.
conversely,
and some of those will come back.
how many do you think we'd sell of like a road glide, street glide, electric glide standard, inverted front end, radial brakes,
Us
stock?
all of them.
500.
All
Yeah.
of them.
I
But
know.
everyone
all
we got.
of them. I
We'll
know.
sell
Yeah.
3
But
of
if they
those.
made 1,500, 3,000 in the country,
we'll
but
sell
if
we'll sell
they
500 of
but they
them.
make them like that, then where do we get our parts sales?
Well, where are you going to get your parts sales now? Hey,
But what you
now you
get
can't
is
even-
like their brakes, and then you upgrade to the Behringers, but you already got the radial conversion in the front. You put a cartridge in it.
But their inverted isn't going to be as good as like Olean's or
sure,
whatever,
you're
unless
going to
they
be able
buy.
to do, but you know what? The guys that are going to buy these bikes aren't those guys. The guys
Short-
that are going to buy these bikes are going to
Short
want to buy
bags,
the bike
dude.
and ride it.
Make
Well,
a
it got really
bagger,
loud all
make
of
a
a sudden.
I agree
bagger
with
with
that.
the
You know what I
angled
mean?
bags
Yeah.
on
They
it
don't-
already.
they don't
Mike's
wanna-
super loud in my headphones.
My bike just got
Yeah.
easy. Tiger. Come on, what are you doing? Everything was fine.
I could barely hear you, and I didn't want to deal with it later, so I was popping it up.
Well, now
So I agree with what you're
now.
saying. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying in that these are the kind of bikes that people buy and leave alone.
they want to ride it.
Because
Right.
one, when you're out ripping through the woods, or if you're in a state park or whatever,
Mhm.
you don't want a loud pipe.
Mhm.
A lot of those places will not let you rip around with a loud pipe. Now, if you have a quiet bike that'll get back there, maybe you go back there and nobody knows.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you're not going to throw a pipe on something like that and go rip somewhere you're not
But
supposed
if you
to be.
do, you
And-
don't have to tune it.
And it's
Well, yeah, that's
That's
the other
pretty cool.
thing.
Yeah.
And this buying segment also, they don't want to buy this bike and then put a bunch of money in improving it.
No.
No, they
They
want
want
to do
to
it all
buy
at
the
once.
bike and they're like, man, I could ride to Panama,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I'm not going to. But
There you go.
could.
Well, the other
You
thing,
know?
the other thing that I've been told about this segment is
This
they-
segment
you
or that
do it-
bike?
the people that ride these bikes. These are the guys that come in. They say, okay, I want this. I want the bags on the side. I want, moto lights, whatever it is they're going to do. They probably already ride and know what they want. They're going to want to do it all in the beginning, and they're not going to keep coming back and adding shit.
No.
They're going to go
No,
ride their bike.
exactly.
They're
They
going
just
to
wanna take
do
the
it
bike
all at
home
once,
and ride it.
Mhm.
and they're going to bring it in for services, and that's it. And they're going to
But
ride it.
having the adaptive headlight, having a 200 plus mile range on the tank, I think it said 230 when it was
Yeah.
full.
Now,
Those kind
I
of
never,
things. It's pretty good. I mean,
I never like full throttled it because it's a brand new
Oh,
motor.
I did. it's
But-
got a warranty.
Got a warranty.
I know, but I can tell you without full throttling it, it'll pick the front tire up off the ground. Now, I don't know, like the
Well,
BMW.
we went over that little
Yeah,
hump.
Well,
I was
yeah.
gonna say it would
would-
or it did.
It did.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, and I don't know this for sure, but I know it
Yeah,
has
theoretically.
traction control, and I know like on the BMW, if you do a wheelie when you have traction control, it will let you go to like 15 degrees for like 10 seconds,
Then it goes,
and then and then it kills it. So I'm thinking the Harley
Too
has
much fun for
something
you.
similar to that
Yeah.
because it didn't stand up, and I wasn't like full throttling it, but I didn't even realize that it was up until my handlebar started to turn, and they didn't do anything. And when it sat down and went straight, I was like, oh. I
It
had
was
the front
floating.
tire off the
Yeah,
ground.
yeah,
I
yeah.
was
I
like,
thought you were going up a hill.
I mean, the first two couple miles on a
It
bike,
It wasn't a hill.
but it wasn't that high. It was probably only a little bit, couple of degrees. I wasn't like catwalking.
It was just light.
I
It was
did-
light in the
I-
front.
I
So I'm
did- I did
thinking the
test the lean
traction
angle.
control. Yeah, I think the traction control kept me there.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
That's
Yeah.
It will. That's what it does.
So that was pretty cool. I mean, it's a lot of fun. So they're like 70-30 tires on them or whatever from the factory. And
Did it vibrate much?
No.
no,
It was
No.
nice and smooth.
It's
He
got
was
the double
a little
balancers.
more confident on those tires than I was, so I just stayed behind him. And I'm like, well, if he can make it, I can make it.
Fucking NFG Shane riding, dude.
Yeah, he's like getting down on it. And I'm like, all right, let's do it.
Eric said that.
yeah.
And then we went and picked up his bike.
Yeah, well.
He
No,
had road rash on his ass. He couldn't sit down.
I've taken that uphill left on these big performance baggers with the suspension and stuff. So I'm like, I'm gonna see what this thing can do, and I just kind of gave it hell through the corner. I'm like, I tried to slide over a little bit, kind of get down on it, and the seats are very sticky. So I tried to slide my butt over to try to dip down, and I actually had to lift myself, use my
Yeah.
feet to lift my butt
But
off
it's
the
comfortable
seat
to stand on.
Yeah.
and pop over a little bit. But the mid controls are perfectly placed.
Yeah.
So you always want your weight on the pegs no matter what. You're not all your weight's not on your ass while you're riding. And when you're getting it, you want to put all the weight down so you can kind of move your body and put load on the
Yeah.
outside when you're going through. So I was able to move quickly, but other than the bars being
Did
a
you
little
play-
too low.
Yeah. 3/4 of an inch. Yeah, 3/4 of an inch.
That's the only thing that kept me winning that
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Yeah, that's
Inside
a
joke.
inside joke. Yeah, inside joke. But did you play
way
with
better.
the ride modes at all when you were
No,
out?
I
Okay,
just had
so
a straight in sport mode.
I was
Snap-on
playing.
mode.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I got on it, I'm like, boom, snap on mode. And if you're wondering what snap on mode is, with the it was introduced with the Livewire,
And
and
it's sport mode.
it's sport mode, but for some reason they ripped off the snap-on symbol and stuck it on their bike because it is straight up. It's
It's
an
a
S,
Snap-on
and it
S.
is the snap-on S in red. It looks like a fucking
Yeah.
snap-on
That's
symbol.
funny.
So we call it snap-on mode. But snap-on mode, I mean, it gets it. But I did go into hill. There's like a hill off-road one, I think it is.
Now, does that like descent control kind of thing, where if you're on a hill, it'll lock the brake and allow you to work the clutch without it
Actually,
sliding backwards and all that?
It changes the cam timing.
Oh,
It-
really?
It changes
Makes
the
it-
yeah.
that
So
gives
it
really
moves
torque.
it moves all the power down to the low end, and it doesn't run out as hard. It gets there. It'll pull you up a hill, but that's not the mode you're going to want to be running out the gears in.
Yeah,
Sure.
you know what's funny is my Forerunner's geared like that.
Yeah.
My Forerunner's not fast,
No,
but you can
you can pull
you can
anything.
let the in first gear my Forerunner, which is really surprising. You can let the clutch out and it'll just run. It'll just
Yeah.
drive down the road. You're like, man, you don't even have to get the gas.
I pulled a brand new
You know, it's like
F-150 out of the mud in my Forerunner, and it was 4-cylinder. And I pulled up, and the guy's like, "You gonna pull me out in that?" And I was like, I grabbed the rope, started putting it back in the truck. I was like, "Man, I don't have to if you don't want to."
Just sit your ass here.
But I cheated a little bit. I put it in 4 low,
So-
But with the
Yeah, but
4-cylinder,
they're just
I just
geared
drugged
really-
that thing
yeah.
right up a hill, man.
So
It was
what he's
nothing.
talking about is in the mode having different timing is that it's got a variable valve timing.
Hydraulically controlled.
It's
Yeah.
it's computer controlled with oil
What are you
pressure.
looking at him for? You took a test about it.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but he took the actual service test or
Yeah.
service
Yeah, I
class.
took the
so-
class.
I was supposed to and fucking forgot to go.
It's
Signed up for
online.
it, and then I was like, shit, that was today.
My attendance record sucks.
Yeah.
But no, it's basically a it's hydraulically controlled, but it's controlled by a computer that does
Right.
the hydraulically controlled. So the different modes, it actually can advance or retard the cam timing accordingly to the mode you're in, along with the suspension. Now we kind of did a little swapperoo after the roundabout,
Hey,
and
I'm going to coin this hydraulically.
Hydraulically controlled.
hydraulically. There you go.
So, hey,
Giggity.
the-
Is that
the
the
two
porn
bikes you
site?
guys
Is the
run was-
porn site hydraulically controlled?
You better get that now, man.
So yeah, so
So,
but-
was one a special?
So they were both specials, but
Okay.
one had the adaptive ride height and one didn't.
Got it.
So
So wait, I thought specials came with adaptive. That was the difference
There's
between the
3
two,
suspension systems. One is the completely manual.
right?
So with those, you're going to take the rider when they get there. You're going to set compression and rebound where it's recommended to be set and all of that.
yep.
With the one he had, it's a semi-active, and it's really weird. They call it semi-active because you have to go into the screen and change modes. Which it's still there's an auto mode.
I can feel.
So you
You can put it on auto, but you have to push the button to go to auto, so it's considered semi-active.
But I could feel that it didn't move like a touch. It wasn't like yours
It's
where it
preload,
drops all.
yes.
Yeah, the
Did it look
preload
like
moved.
this? Like
It will adjust the
Three
preload.
quarters
Yeah.
of an inch.
And there's rider passenger, rider cargo.
Yeah, so you can go in there and set up If
Yeah.
you're gonna, so you go in and you tell it like I'm doing rider passenger, rider cargo, and it'll adjust the preload accordingly. The one he set up is the dynamic one.
And there's
where
there's no change. You
it's
just ride
it's
it.
just riding, and when
Yeah.
you come to a stop, it lowers.
Yeah.
And but I will say, it's weird.
I didn't notice it, and they said you won't notice it.
Until you got on my bike, or no, you rode mine and then got on yours. So I noticed that every time, like I rode yours first, and every time I came to a stop, my knees were bent, and I was like, kind of like sitting down. And then when we switched, every time I stopped, my knees were almost straight. Like even with the
Yeah.
seat height set up, it was
Was
perfect.
yours taller? Did you do the taller? You did taller on yours, and I did lower.
No, I did lower on mine. You
And
did
I did
taller on
taller,
yours.
okay.
So that's what I'm saying is yours
seat-
was
seat
actually
position
lower
you're
seat
talking about, right?
position because
Yeah.
there's two.
Yeah, there's so for the people that don't know, there's two positions for the seat from the factory. The seat is what it is, and you can set it in the high position or the low position. It's
It's
like
an
an
inch.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like an inch.
Mhm.
So it makes a big difference on where you're sitting and where you feel in the bike. We kind of set them up different on purpose.
So
you know,
because he did
people can
high
see,
with
you
his
know.
adaptive, so it would lower and then raise,
Mhm.
and I did low on mine. And
Oh, you know what you should have done? Jamie came in to adjust the bars, move the seat.
You must be this tall
Oh,
too.
Yeah, we'll do it. We come back in 5 minutes. Yeah. And then what the hell? Yeah. That's
Yeah.
great.
That would have been grand.
the fact that so he came back and he was like, yeah, oh, that was so much better. And I'm laughing, and he's like, he thought I was
He's
like,
like,
I had
what's
my
so funny?
headphones
He's
in.
like,
I
you,
thought I had
man.
something, and he's like, what's so funny? I'm like, you, and he's like, what? I'm like, the fact that you think that made all the difference. He's like, well, I think we're losing attention to detail. I'm like, okay, so when you move the bars, did you
Well-
move the levers? And he goes, no, because they're perfect. Because you come over the top. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You want your levers straight up? He's like, well, yeah, but you don't want to reach up. I'm
So-
like, yeah,
Well,
but we're
here-
not
The
reaching
thing
up.
they're preaching with this
What did-
bike, though,
Right.
and
but, okay, we're going to stay on this for a second.
Yeah.
What does the manual say? Because these manuals tell you where to set the bars.
it doesn't give you a height or anything. It just tells you to adjust for rider comfort.
Yes.
Is what it tells you.
And you
So
know what?
there's no some of them will give you. I think the freewheeler. I don't know if you know that the
Yes.
freewheeler actually has a measured
Yes.
height that
Yeah.
you're supposed to
Yeah.
go to.
The soft tail, like
Yeah.
the heritage.
No, I skimmed through it pretty good because you printed it out. I'm like, I don't want to fuck this up.
Because
So I was
we
going
did it,
through
we did it
but-
by the manual step by step since
guys
of the
do it
first
together?
one. No,
Yeah.
we took turns.
Yeah, yeah.
Different bikes though, not the same bike.
So
so much better when you both work on one bike.
No, you lose,
Yeah.
you lose out. We're flat rate. We don't
yeah,
we can't
don't
do
fuck
that.
around with that shit.
I mean, Tyler and
I
Marcus.
was
they-
so pissed
Alan and
when I
Marcus.
still bring that up when they were doing that paint swap, and they were like, "What do you guys? It goes way faster."
you
One of you's on one
what?
bike,
Yeah.
one of you's
you
on
and I
the
did a paint swap in what 40 minutes.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
fucking-
we
That's-
did it. We
that's-
did a
that's
trike
'cause we
body
race.
in about 40 minutes.
Well,
We
him
did-
and I
we-
used to race.
Me and the guy at my old shop. We sold a trike and it had like a chip in the back of the fucking body. And we had another one with a good body, and they're like, "Well, we sold
So
this
let me
one." I'm
ask
like,
you
why'd
this.
you sell this one? You know,
The worst. The
Let me
we
ask
worst.
you this:
we
were
shut
you-
the doors
Were you
and-
both working on the same bike?
no, God no.
Weird.
Yeah. You take them both apart, and then you
Yeah.
just go.
Let
And then
me
you're like,
And
okay,
then yeah,
let me ask you this: was it longer to change the lock than the body?
sometimes, yeah, absolutely. Sometimes the body's
Wait,
easy.
too soon?
Yeah,
those fucking locks.
Too soon?
Those
Yeah.
locks
Trunk
suck.
locks on trikes are fucking horrible.
I got really good at those for a while, but I don't claim that shit anymore because I've struggled with it a few years.
But no, the cornering on that
All
Pan
trike
America.
trunk locks.
It's really good. So we rode, and I think we both agreed to this. We rode the adaptive ride height, and then we rode the semi-active. Now I haven't ridden the base one, but
We got our allotment.
the
Yeah.
adaptive ride height felt heavier.
Yeah, in the corners it did.
It just like moving it around, it felt heavier. So the interesting thing about this adaptive ride height,
Well, you'd think that
Is
you'd
there-
want the semi-active anyway.
it's almost completely manual. The mechanical, I mean, that's the word I was looking for. It's almost completely mechanical. So somehow, and I would really like to take these forks apart or get an exploded view to see how they work. But somehow they raise due to the action of them moving up
Dude,
and
it's
down.
the
It
same-
builds pressure.
It's
like
the same
Wilbur.
thing as Wilbur suspension.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
just
Okay,
what I was going to
Wilbur's
say.
works
It's
like-
exactly
so
how
it
it works.
builds pressure, and then when the bike sees 0 miles an hour, it kills that pressure, and the bike sinks.
Okay.
So you can, and they did this video in the class.
So he's sitting there with the bike off. He's sitting there like compressing the suspension, bucking it like he put a quarter in it, just going back
Yeah.
and forth. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "No, watch." And he turns it on, and the thing goes and
Yeah.
drops down.
Wow.
Yeah, as soon as it sees zero, it goes. But it,
Yeah, I wonder if they're using that.
There's no
that
compressor.
metallic fluid, like what they do in the active suspension
For the
shocks.
Wilburs.
Well,
I don't
no, that's just purely mechanical. But like
Well,
there's some
Wilburs
car
is a
suspension setups.
nitrogen like pressure thing that it
well,
reads with
this
the
has-
mechanical.
this
Oh,
uses
it's,
something.
What's that?
It's
Lube?
air
Super
pressure
lube.
or something.
Super lube.
Like active suspensions
Oil.
on some active
Yeah.
suspensions on cars have that metallic fluid basically, and they charge the fluid and it changes like dampening rate and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, whoa. Using electricity.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
I
like
wonder
that.
if maybe that's how it's done. I don't know.
It's
I
uranium.
don't think so. I think they're either they must be hydraulic. The lines going into the top of them that
'Cause-
control.
'cause, yeah,
no,
'cause-
they're electric. They're electric.
Because one has a left, there's one on
Yeah,
the
those
left,
are electric
and two
wires.
on the right.
Yeah. The adaptive ride height has it adjusts rebound, compression, everything
Yeah,
in all of
Preload
them.
all changes.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the left
Preload,
fork
yeah.
has one line and the right fork has two lines.
Yeah,
so
and then on the
it's doing like
semi-active-
kind of like a like the old spring cartridge kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
setup.
God, I fucking hate
Got it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So
08 road.
there's like
what it
is
was
there
like
like-
08 road king or something, and you're just like motherfucker.
you do
Oh,
one
you
on
would
easy.
forget-
You do
you'd
one on
forget
easy
when
and you're
you're
gonna
doing
break.
when you're doing the services and you'd break out and you'd drain the oil, then you'd be like, son of a fucking bitch, I just drained the oil on the cartridge side. And you got to reverse bleed and get the shit back in there. You're like, oh, why did I do that? Goddamn road king.
Yeah,
Nobody knows what we're talking about.
Service
No.
sucks, just so you know.
yeah.
Yeah, those are the good old days, man, when shit was hard.
You know, riding other bikes, it definitely feels more metric than maybe I
Oh,
expected.
Absolutely. The
It looks more
controls,
metric.
the controls,
It
everything's
feels
metric.
real
But-
metric,
yeah,
and that's
but-
not an insult.
But you know what?
you know.
They're not though, because you know what I do like about the controls. Because I haven't ridden it yet, but I kind of looked at it when you guys were done with them. They're still streamlined and they look.
They feel
Non-cheap.
good.
They're
They
not
feel
cheap.
good.
the fit
Yeah,
and
they don't-
finish
You know,
is
like
awesome.
when you look at the Indians. I'm sorry, but you get on one of those fucking
The Challenger.
the fucking retarded sharks, the
Yeah.
Challengers.
Yeah.
You get on those things and you've got these hand controls that are like 5 fucking inches tall, and they've got these big colored buttons, and you're like,
Mhm.
what do they expect everybody to be retarded to ride these things?
I do have to say, on
and
the
they
Pan
just-
America, there's too many buttons.
well, there's a lot of shit going on.
There is,
There's a
but
lot of
there's
shit
a
going
lot
on.
of
There's a lot of-
buttons, and
That's
they're
technical talk. There's
they're
a lot
like
of shit
like
going
the
on.
cruise
Yeah.
control is up on top of
Yeah,
the
but they don't
left
expect you
side.
to be doing cruise a lot. And I used
Yeah.
it. I
Yeah.
checked it out. 'Cause, I mean, I saw the bike setting it up, and within 2 miles of riding, I was like, well, I'm going to try cruise. I'm
Yeah.
going to try this.
You can clear the fucking trouble codes while you're riding.
Awesome.
I fucking kid you not, dude.
Yeah. But the nice thing
Hey,
is,
don't give anybody any
it's got
ideas.
it's got adjustable levers.
Dude,
stock.
it says diagnostic. You go in there, it tells you what the codes are, everything right there. You don't even
Oh,
have to
God.
do anything.
We're
Great.
closed.
That's awesome.
We're closed.
I just
Um,
imagine the customer calls.
That's what I'm saying. Don't give anybody
But-
ideas.
well, you have to know how to get in there. But the levers are adjustable. There's 5 settings for the levers. The brake bleeder is sitting on top of the perch next to the master on the front cylinder.
It's fucking brilliant.
So the highest point on the
Great.
line is where the bleeder is. I'm
Get it
like,
vacuum bladed every time.
yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Like they've come up with some things that's like,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. Why don't they do this all the time? And other companies don't do that.
So the chain has no master link. I know you guys have we talked about this, but the chain has no master link. It is a solid one-piece chain. When it is time to replace it, you replace it with one part number, and it's a solid one-piece
and
chain.
you measure
Yeah,
links.
you've got to measure the
11
so
links.
many links. I think it's like 13. I don't remember. I don't log that stuff because I know in the moment I need to go pick up the manual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It
Like
doesn't
I
matter
don't.
anyway.
Yeah, I don't want to work off memory, so I'm like I don't need to know that because I'll have a manual
Yeah.
when it comes.
You
You
can
know?
do it when
If
you get
somebody
there.
bought one today, it'd be a year before you needed to fucking measure the chain anyway.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But they're-
especially with Harley riders.
they're
It'd be like
supposed to be-
1,000 miles.
it's
Well, these guys will probably ride it.
They'll ride the shit out of them.
These guys
I
will
know,
probably ride
I know.
it.
Yeah.
The people are going to buy them. I think it. You know, I mean, I applaud Harley for doing this. You know, the first time they definitely fucked up with the Ulysses
Yeah.
because you know this is basically the Ulysses'
Yeah.
brother. You know what I mean?
They
And it's
didn't,
just a
they
more
didn't,
modern version. And I love Ulysses, and Man, they're so hard to find. I would fucking love to grab.
I know.
get myself a-
I
They're
wanted
impossible.
the I
Yeah,
wanted the front
impossible.
forks for my Sportster.
but what always
There's
happens?
Jordan.
What always happens with Harley though is they have all this to do and they've already fucked it up because all they talked about all winter long was the Pan America's coming. The Pan America's
Pass it
coming,
along.
and it was going
I
to be
want one
introduced
too.
in
Pass it
January.
along.
And
Milton,
it was-
Thank you, sir.
pass it along. Everybody
Yeah.
gets a piece, Milton.
So I'm looking at the Ulysses as we're talking about this. So I think they didn't do like an 883 in the Ulysses, huh?
No, I think
No,
it was-
hell
So
no.
I think they need to do that. Whatever
No.
the 850, whatever it was, what was the motor they were talking about doing? The other
What?
one. There were supposed to be 2
Oh, it's
Revolution
like a
Max.
990 or something.
9.
They scrapped it like a 980 or
We're close.
I think they need to do a smaller. Give me one of those. Oh, you need
Pass
one?
it along. Just
So-
pass, Bill. Just pass.
So I think they
He's gonna
need.
dump the whole fucking.
I need
pack
one.
out.
I need one.
Just put it on the table. They'll go.
I think they need to do a smaller displacement motor
Why?
No.
because that
Come on,
bike's
man.
got a lot of power. That's the 1250 class. Now the Tenier like 700s and things like that are doing really well right now.
I'm gonna
it's-
keep
but it's-
shoving them back
But
to
it's
you,
big
man.
and bulky. It's heavy. I mean, it's not like you're going to get.
Most of the weight, the engine is integral. So, a lot of your weight's going to be the
You want one
engine.
of
I mean, I
these?
guess you're not going to drop a lot
You
of
want one
weight.
of these?
But they were going to do the Bronx. The Bronx was going to be the smaller engine
Oh,
replacement that they didn't do.
You got to watch the video if you're
What
not
have
watching
we
the video.
done?
Just start watching the videos
All right, I'm
on
gonna start
YouTube.
drinking 2 at a time then.
All right.
Hold on. There's more.
Just pass.
So I'm online looking. Looks like
Preston.
they made the Ulysses from 06. It says road produced by 2006.
Here, take
and
that
10.
back.
No, give it to me. I was gonna throw it at you.
So they're definitely not touting it
Get it back.
as the
We got too
first
many.
adventure tour. But we are talking about 103 horsepower, 114 newton meters of torque, which is probably like 80 foot-pounds.
Pass
There
it,
you go.
Milton.
So yeah, 84 foot-pounds. What, man, I was close. Look at that. I didn't even have to do the math.
I know. You're good.
So, you gotta watch the video.
Yeah.
So, I can't even keep a straight face right now. Yeah.
You guys didn't even drink any of them.
Well, you
Wait.
gave us way too many.
Well, I was
Yeah.
I should
passing
have been
Milton.
okay,
Yeah.
one for
We
Shane.
only needed one beer.
Wait, one for Shane.
So
one
what
for
were we
me.
touting on
Hey,
the Pan America?
Where
100,
did mine go?
2 for Shane.
140 horse.
Well,
So-
no, but here's my question: was the Ulysses the first?
No.
Who
No.
made it first
Yeah,
one?
they're going
First-
back into the 70s for the first one. So
No, but I mean like this bike right here, the Ulysses. I
adventure
think was
tour.
the first adventure touring.
Made by
Well,
an American
so
company.
they're saying the first adventure tour bike is like these older BMWs.
No, the first American adventure touring
Well,
bike.
no, but that's not.
We know
I
it's
mean, that's
yeah,
not
like
really a
these.
touring bike. I mean, that's kind of like an enduro.
Let's see, we can do what first BMW. Let's see when BMW made theirs.
Like
BMW.
the actual, they called it like the seg.
That's
because in the
BMC, not
70s, They didn't
BMW.
call those adventure touring bikes.
That's
Yeah,
BMZ.
they call them.
Yeah,
like
it's fucking
bikes.
Google smarter than me. It'll work it out.
No, it didn't.
Oh,
Look, it
look
gave
at
you that
that.
First
Swedish
BMX.
Yeah, well.
It's like, hey, look at my key.
All right. 1980. Off-road, on-road BMW motorcycles have been produced since 1980.
No,
So,
but I'm
Well,
saying,
right,
what's
but-
the first
right, but-
American company?
No, but see, here's the difficulty though,
GS line.
because in 1980, I mean, an on-road, off-road is an enduro bike.
Well, that one.
They were all
that's-
making those.
That right there is pretty much
Because the GS was
And
that's when they
R80S, which would have been 80 to 86.
because the
Yeah.
GS became the one that had the telelever front end, and they stopped that about 6 years
I
ago.
would say go back up, go up right to that one.
The 1150 or the 1100. I was thinking this one, the 11.
That's probably that right there. I would say.
So the BMW R1100S.
1987.
Right here. GS
So if you go-
94,
So,
99.
If you go up there, they are 1100.
Well, they say
GS.
100.
Yes, that's a GS.
Yeah. Well, the GS, I guess that is a GS. Or 1100 GS. So 93 would have been long. So yeah, I mean, the segment was there.
So Buell Ulysses was the first American
That's it.
produced
The only American produced.
that was along the time, but hey, but it was in
That
the
was a
time.
sport-
It
yeah.
was in the time that it was relevant. It's not like
Yeah.
Harley now, where it's like, oh, these guys have been doing this for 10 years. That's awesome.
Well,
we're
apparently
gonna,
they've been
we're
doing
gonna
it for 30 years.
we're gonna get on board,
All right.
and we're
I
gonna
did a
do
little
this.
research.
And then all of a sudden,
Yamaha
Sidetrack a little bit here.
Yamaha can be.
I told my
credited as
wife
the
I want a
first.
frame jig.
God damn it, Yamaha was first.
Yamaha can be credited as the first to offer a road-only
Rim jigs are
version of an
cool.
adventure
Hey,
motorcycle.
Hey, you know what?
1991
Listen.
TDM 850.
Oh, no way. There's no way.
No. You know what?
That's
You
what
know-
they say.
Hey,
No, I got 80s bikes.
Derived
that
from
are-
the Paris to
doesn't
Dakar
matter,
winner XTZ
because
750.
we dropped the bomb first.
And that's all that matters,
That's
man.
Nobody.
No, so I
Nobody
was
else did
I was
that.
telling my wife the
Undisputed,
other
look it
day,
up.
I want a frame jig, and I want to build like sport touring or off-road frames for sporty motors, where you could drop a sporty motor
Too
in,
heavy.
and
too heavy.
dude, I don't
Too
give a
heavy.
shit.
I built a couple. They're too heavy.
Who cares?
They're not too heavy for.
Hey, there's
who's
some
Who's that little fucking faggot in Arizona?
Rusty. There's
Butcher.
a Rusty
Yeah.
Butcher. Yeah, I was just
that's
gonna
good.
say.
Yeah,
I've seen a
there's
bunch
some
of them. They're
shit of
sick.
him
He
on the
wears a
internet.
cowboy
Okay,
hat.
so-
Kicking
Motherfucker.
ass.
Little
Well, he's
known-
riding one.
Yeah, buddy.
I've done a lot of research on this, and I think it's the Suzuki GS.
Have you done a
front
research
ends.
on welders before you buy the frame jig?
I have a welder. I bought one already. It's not one that I would weld frames with, but I'm learning how to weld.
Buy a
I'm
TIG
getting there.
welder.
Yeah. I know.
Sweld.
Trust me, I'm not buying a frame
Just
jig.
weld stuff.
Yeah, but that's what I'm doing. I just grab shit and fuck with it, until I figure
You
it
just
out.
weld it. But you won't do wheel bearings?
No, that's customer shit. I'm not fucking around with customer shit. Yeah, I don't do that. I'm not that good yet.
Just hit the fucking pedal and go.
I know, but that's TIG too. I've never
And then
fucked
you
with
end up
TIG.
like
I'm doing
we
flux
were
core
with
at home.
holes.
It's easy. You
Oh,
just
trying to
Flux core
fill.
sucks too, man.
Yeah,
Well,
flux core is,
actually,
like really
okay,
slaggy
so-
and
you
stuff.
know what though? Is your flux core, will it do MIG?
it won't do gas. No,
Oh, it won't.
no. It's flux only.
Just have like a 120.
What? What the fuck?
What are you doing?
So, oh god, yeah. So no. Side note: I bought the nicer Harbor Freight Vulcan brand or whatever.
That's
Flux
so
core.
amazing.
So laugh if you want.
Shane, man.
I
No
did it
apologies.
because
nothing,
my
man.
wife wanted to learn how to weld.
How much stuff do you own? In Harbor Freight? If you don't, I tell you,
Hey, you guys can go spend $500 on a welder that's going to use once a month. I'll spend $200 on mine and be happy. But anyways, let me
Hey,
finish what I'm
if you
saying.
use a
we
welder
don't
more
we
than that.
don't sell and we don't condone advertising, but if you were going to go buy a welder, Harbor Freight is the way.
So I've used
the Vulcan line by Harbor Freight.
So I've used the Chicago Electric Flux Core welder
Yeah.
because my uncle had one
You had
back
to have-
home.
You had to
Yeah.
have seen the
And it
video he was
has-
playing earlier for that to make sense at all.
It
Like,
has
talking
like
about inside shit, dude.
yeah,
Yeah.
it has like two switches, and it's like high, low, and fast and slow, and that's all you get.
Well,
So it's really hard to weld with.
well, look, there's two different areas of China.
Yeah.
There's
So the one I
the
bought
fields and the
has
city.
knobs
Yeah.
for feed and
Actually-
voltage, and it works really well. It will lay a
Vulcan-
really
Those
nice.
Vulcan welders actually, they have pretty good. They're pretty good welders.
I have
The
been
o-
overly
only-
impressed with it.
Only thing that sucks with those Vulcan welders is you can't really like go, and when you get good at it, and you're
Yeah.
like, if
You
I
want
just
real,
had,
real heat
if
control.
I had a little bit different arc on my
Yeah, there's not a lot of options.
you can't buy
Yeah.
accessories.
Yeah.
Like where if you buy like
A Miller.
if you buy one of the upper brands, then you can just go and change your handle.
Well, like I said, my
change
wife
all
wanted to
that
learn how to
stuff
weld.
up.
I wanted to learn how to weld, and I figured, okay, if we get to this and this thing won't do what we want, then I'll go buy
Hey, you know what a really fun
a
game
Miller or
is?
something
Look, don't
good.
look.
Oh yeah. No, I bought a mask. I bought all the stuff because it's the way you gotta do it right if you're gonna do it.
Dark mask or dimming
But
mask?
I have welded quite a few things with it.
I
I've
hate
been
dark.
very impressed with the result.
I have a dimmer. I love
But
that dimmer.
anyways,
Yeah.
Dimmer mask of the bomb.
I
The
think Esau.
off-road sporting. I'm gonna build one. It's gonna be my next build. My next
You gotta not
bike
blow yours up first.
Thank you.
is I'm not worried about that. That's gonna be fine. That motor was fucked when I put it in there.
Well, what are you gonna use your other motor?
Yeah. I'm gonna build off the 883.
How bad was it, man?
What, my motor?
Yeah.
The 1200?
Yeah.
It was fine.
It was fine until
it was
he
fine
tried to chase
until it
full
wasn't.
bike.
Both pistons had damage and had melted at the top. One had transferred to the cylinder. One had chips and stuff off.
It's
of
weird
it.
you're able to buy a 1200 Sage 4 kit for like $700.
Well, the dude didn't know what he had.
Who
Wait,
can get one?
how was the bottom
Oh,
end?
a motor?
What was wrong
Yeah.
with the
See, that's
bottom end?
fucking awesome, man.
Nothing was wrong with the
Hey,
bottom end.
you know
So
what,
why are you
buddy?
going to go back to the other bottom end?
You know what the best? He didn't.
No, I'm gonna
He didn't
I'm gonna
like
build another bike off of the
He has his
883.
other engine.
Oh.
He bought a
Yeah,
complete
yeah.
motor.
Yeah, I bought a
Gotcha.
complete motor.
And hey, guess what? You're
Now I gotcha.
still in that motor less than just buying the 1200 kit.
Yeah.
Oh no, well, yeah. I tried to tell my wife this the other day because I'm probably, honestly, I'm probably about $3,000 deep.
Yeah.
Explain it
in doing the 1200 and everything. Not only did I get a blacked out motor, which would have cost me fuck tons of money to do.
Yeah, paint. I would have done
I
that
got
shit
the
for you.
primary. I have the. You just sit there with the little brush. You just-
Right long.
No, so I got-
VHT paint, baby.
Yeah,
That
I
shit-
got
Shit,
the
it's
primary.
My whole motor's built with
Yeah, I
that.
got the primary. I got the 1200 primary and other stuff. I'm still in it cheaper than I would have been because that kit's
Yeah.
damn near $3,000. So
Yeah, the kit. I mean, hell, the heads are fucking $1,500.
yeah, so I'm not upset about it. This time around, if you're not following me on Instagram, as we stand, I've been breaking it in. We haven't done any full pulls on it or anything yet, so I don't know what the power is, but I'm gonna put 100 miles on it or so before we probably do that and
I
let
wouldn't do
it.
that.
And what do you mean?
I wouldn't ride it too much without a good tune.
Well, he's got the middle.
It's
part.
everything but the full pulse.
Yeah. I can't
the
stay in the bottom. I
And
can't
the
stay.
middle.
Yeah. I can't stay at the bottom. No, because I watched him tuning it.
Everything's tuned, but the bottom, the middle, and
If I
and the
stay
upper
in the
pulse.
middle
That's all he
RPMs
needs is full
and
pull.
go,
though.
yeah, I think I'm fine.
All he rides is full pulls.
Yeah,
That's what I was
saying.
like.
Yeah, hey, you
Give
know,
him
I
the
was,
fucking
I was,
full
I was
pull.
thinking about that, and I was going to tell you that you called me. I was going to call you Monday and say, hey, when you get done and you do your max power pulls, fucking add like 5% of fuel in there because you ride so much on the upper
Yeah.
You need to keep it cool more than
Well,
you
when
need
I
to make
called you,
maximum
when I
power.
called you, and I was like, "Hey, man, this pickup isn't working," and you're like, "I don't know." I'm
Right
like,
now
"All
it's
right."
really fat in the top end.
So
Good.
I hit 80 and it's getting it, and
It's
I
just-
hit 100, and I'm like, all right, chain fattened up the top end.
So-
You're like, well, I'm out of gas.
because I went through and I was like, all right, he's here. Someone come here. I'm gonna just go about 8 clicks.
Just going to add about
But when I-
25% more
you can
fuel.
feel it too. It's
So
like
when I called you and I'm like, the
ooh.
pickup's not working. I went into to make run and change the time and tried to do all that. We couldn't figure it out, and then I pulled out the ones that clip to the spark plugs. Tried 2 of those. Did all this
Well,
stuff.
You know, when you change the pickups, you've got to program it all.
So
You can't just like put it in the pickup on.
so when you're saying you did the shielding,
I'm not telling you what I did.
you already told me you did the shielding.
We
Dirty
gotta get both
secrets.
his in
You
there.
already
Him.
told me you did the shielding.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I changed it.
So-
but you haven't changed. But you haven't changed it back, and it's working for the M8 in there. So
So
a
Shane,
It'll
your
work for everything.
your carb 1200, you
Yeah.
tuned a little bit, right?
little bit.
A little bit.
Feeling good.
It's a little on the fat side.
It's fat. I mean, it'll still.
You should trade that in on that yellow one. I'll give you
Fuck
fucking smoking
that.
deal.
No way, man.
It's new.
We have yet to see the full
I got
potential. of
got
that
more
bike.
money in the
Clean
top
one
end of
over.
my
I know,
bike
I know, dude.
than you do in that
Cherry.
whole
I want to
motorcycle.
go riding with you one day, man, and just watch you wax on people with that.
Dude,
People go like they will scoff and they'll get their asses
ask
kicked.
Nick with his built 107 how it goes on his dyno.
I'm gonna hurt some Dinah's feelings.
His
I
vagina.
promise you. I promise you, dude. I'm gonna
Yeah.
hurt some Dinah's feelings because when
Hey,
I was riding it the other day, I'm like, yeah, it pulls kind of hard like it used to. You know, it feels like I got a little more power in the bottom end. I didn't run it out. I never hit red line or anything, so I wasn't trying to like beat on it, but I was getting it, and then you know you get the itch. You're like, oh, I got to see what I got here, and I was like, I was like, oh my God, I was way the fuck away from full throttle. And I was like, okay, maybe when this thing
Feels
gets tuned, it's going to be a little more than I thought.
The best
man.
thing is the stroked cookie cutter twin cam baggers. Because I've worked so many of those with a Sportster, and the best thing is you leave a bar, and the guy, I heard this bagger, it was stroking low. I'm like, nice bike, man. He looks at me, goes, yours is cute. Where's the rest of it? And I said, oh, I left it at home, so it's fair. I'm like, which way you going? I'm like, that way. All right, yeah, that's a nice on ramp. And then like, my bike's warm, off the carb, ready to go. Here comes this 200-pound wife coming out of the bar to get on the back of it. I'm like, dude, that's like 30 horsepower. It's not even fair now. And he's just like, so it's like I pull up, he takes off, and I roll up next to him, and I chop throttle, and I look at him, and I wave, and he's looking at me, and he's like, still buried, and I'm just like, yeah, and just take off. I mean,
That was before it is
When-
where it is
when I
now.
was in
or what it is
Arizona-
now, yeah.
When I was in Arizona and I had my Sportster, all I had was basically had a Buell top end on it.
Yep.
It was a 12.
So that's what I had.
Buell cams and a Buell.
That's
and
what I had
heads
is a
and all that.
Buell head, Buell cams, all that.
And so this dude had, blew his wad on his paint job, and he wanted a motor built, and he had a Street Glide or whatever. And it was it was a Street Glide. It was just a regular Street Glide. And I was trying to tell him, I was like, well, man, we need to put some compression in, and I thought, he's like, nah, I just want this Harley Stage 4 kit and tire shredder, and I've heard all blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, it's not. And he's like, so I built it for him, right? And so he picked it up and he went and did some shit, and then we closed the shop down, and I was riding home and I had a full face helmet. And so he didn't know it was me. So I pull up next to him and I'm like, oh, it's this fucking clown with his tire shredder.
Stage 4 tire shredder.
So I pull up next to him in my Sportster, and I look over and he's like, and I'm all, and he's all, the light turns green, and I fucking smoke it. And I got to the next light, and then I'm sitting there and I'm looking back, and he pulled back behind a car.
That's
Did
the
he show
crawl
up
of
at your
shame,
shop
bro.
next
Yeah,
day?
so the next day, I rode the Sportster to work, and it's parked out front. The next day, he calls and he's just fucking pissed. And he comes in and he's like, man, this motherfucker. And he's here running. Who owns this board? Blah, blah, blah. They're like, oh, hold on, I'll get him settled down. So I walk back and I'm like, hey, what can I do for you? And he's like, that's your Sportster? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, and I said, I told you not to put that. And he's like, well, what have you done to your Sportster? And I said, nothing. And
I
he
warned
was like,
you.
and he was
I
like,
told you.
Yeah.
You knew what to expect.
Oh, twin cam guys used to get hurt
Oh,
on
hey,
them
I know,
sporties, dude. Oh,
I
yeah.
know,
Oh, yeah.
I
he was
know.
just standing there and he just fucking red as fucking. I was like, I told you not to do that.
Hey, with my Super Trap pipe, that
Red
bike
up.
sounds so quiet. I'm gonna put in that 883 badge.
It's not as quiet as you think, man.
Yeah.
Because
It's quiet.
I sit up front.
It's
and
not
I
as
hear-
loud as mine.
I hear no, it's not nearly. But I sit up front and I hear all the cool bikes coming in.
I have to
they
say,
all roll
though-
past me, and you rolled through. I think on one wheel through the parking lot. And I snap around when I hear a cool bike.
I
And
have
I'm
to
like, oh, shit,
say,
you're
I
Shane,
came
dude. Fuck
across that MagnaFlow exhaust on a deal
yeah,
from a customer.
Customer.
Got it free. It was a
didn't
smoking
like
ass
the
deal.
That's a
tune.
deal.
And-
Didn't
and
like
yeah,
the tune.
yeah.
Said,
Oh, that
So-
was what's his name?
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. He
Fucking Red Bull
liked it.
Gotham.
yeah, yeah.
That fucking bike has the most amazing sound. I would have never
did he.
picked that. I would have never picked that exhaust. But after doing research, it's supposed to be one of the best performing exhausts, and the sound that it makes
And it was free.
is
It was free.
fucking
God damn.
amazing,
And
dude.
it's right on their ad
What?
that it's the best performance.
Performance
Along with
you can
Cobra.
feel.
That's right.
And Reinhardt.
8 horsepower gain. Aaron, look at this chart.
Yeah.
Well, does it go like this? Like,
So if you go down the rabbit hole with Hammer, they use that Freedom Performance
Oh,
exhaust or whatever,
gross.
Yeah.
and it's all top end. There's no bottom end on it. But
Gross.
they, these are guys that are trying to make horsepower numbers.
So-
The side
your
note
pipe-
shit.
so your pipe compared to
the
the Stage 4 that was in today with the short shots.
short shot, I couldn't think of it. Yeah.
Short shots, great graph. Just not
they're really-
just
They don't make a
straight.
lot. They sound great and they make really good usable power. They just don't make a lot of power.
Yeah. So it made more than his at the bottom. but
which
I-
is surprising.
on a
Yeah,
stage
for as
4.
short as it is.
So
They're
on a
baffled real well.
so on a
Short shots are one of the pipes.
Was it a baffled one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's why.
So
Okay,
on a
yeah,
stage
yeah.
4, his graph kind of dipped underneath that hit the other one, but his was I think 6 horsepower and 5 torque more peak.
about 4,000 RPMs. One
Yeah,
of
about
the first to walk
35,
away,
4.
which is right where you want it. in a
And
sports car.
yeah, because
So-
you go to 65, 7, you shift, you're right back at 35 where you want it.
Yeah.
That's why I went with the 560 cam from Hammer after talking with their people, because they said if you have a good exhaust,
Well, that's your
Then-
old graph with the 585.
Yeah,
we don't
yeah,
have
yeah.
a graph with the hammer.
but they're saying if you have a good exhaust,
What's
Hey,
What's
there he
that?
is.
yeah, get a beer. So
Post Malone just sold a beer for me. Everybody else just see it.
if you have a
And
lot
he's hiding
of
over there in the corner again, like
overlap
usual.
in your cam,
Come on over, dude. Sit down. Talk for a
your
while.
exhaust is super important. And we've talked about this with a lot of stuff, but when you have a lot of overlap in your cam, that means you have a lot of time where both valves are open. So if you're pulling too much air out, you're pulling raw fuel out, and that's not good. You're
Yeah.
not getting anywhere.
That's a dip.
Yeah.
A
If-
dip.
If you're
dip.
not pulling enough, then you're getting unburnt fuel in the cylinder.
Yep.
So
Reversion.
That's talking with him about the exhaust I have and everything, he said, "Man,
Smoke.
you really want
Turns black.
something with a lot of overlap." He's like, with a good exhaust, something that's going to handle that overlap. You want
Take
something with a
advantage
lot
of
of
the
overlap.
scavenging of that pipe.
For the most part, the way I've always understood it, and the way I was taught, a lot of overlap means a top end cam. Just the way in basic form, but I kind of hit him with the where should I set my rev limiter, with your cam.
7.
And he's like, well, the valve
72.
train will handle
when it tips
75.
over on the curve.
Yeah,
I
he
say.
said the valve train will handle 75. He said, but you're gonna run out of peak torque before then.
so you'll feel
You're
it tip
gonna
over.
you're gonna run out of power. And I'm like, well, shit.
Well,
My
the
585 hit peak torque at $7,000.
but
Yeah.
your intake close. Sorry about that. Sorry. Your intake close is like
That's for the YouTube people.
your intake close is like what 44 degrees,
I have no idea.
something like that.
yeah.
That's so. I looked at that cam too, and that's a really good mid range cam.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can feel it. I can feel it. It's more mid range than it was top end.
And the overlap, the reason that the overlap works so well on that is because your exhaust is so important. People just don't. People don't realize that exhaust is everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to get the air in. You have a vacuum.
Dude, if you had
But
enough
when
money,
you get the air to push the air out, all you have
Well,
is
The air
You have a
pump.
negative pressure. There's only a vacuum in space. There's no true vacuum on
that's
Earth.
if space is real.
I mean, if we're gonna.
You're making some assumptions
So-
here.
No,
so
I
down.
was
So
corrected.
down, flat earther.
I was corrected in MMI when I said a vacuum because I've done cars for years, and in the car world, nobody gives a fuck. They're like, yeah, it's a vacuum,
Yeah.
whatever. In MMI, they're like, no, it's a negative pressure, and
Yeah.
I'm like, go
Mom's
fuck
negative
yourself.
pressure.
Go
What do you
fuck
think a
yourself.
vacuum
Yeah,
is?
yeah. It's a negative fucking pressure.
Vacuum is
Yeah.
negative
Rory,
pressure.
I would like to see
So-
what that bike does on an RB
So
pro stock pipe. That's a
What,
good pipe for the Sportster.
The sporty? They
Yeah.
probably do pretty good. So that's
Really
the
good
thing
pipe.
about when you want to get above like the 110 horsepower mark on a Sportster, you need a big ass free flowing exhaust.
So-
Yeah,
you know,
wide
and
open
that's
like
so
a 2.25.
I
well, I don't want to make
cubic
100
inches.
I want to make over 100. So I scoured. I looked at all their charts. So with like a 1250, their heads.
on that one graph, which is probably
Well,
the
no,
best one
across,
they've
yeah,
ever-
yeah,
60
yeah.
degrees,
Across,
2%
I would
humidity.
say they average low end 100, 103,
maybe
high end 110.
you might
Okay.
you might hit 100.
So that's what I said. If I can hit
If you hit
100,
100, you have hit it out of the park.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
on a
If
Sportster.
if I can hit 100, I'll be super happy. I don't need to hit 105. I'm not shooting for that, but I would like to hit 100.
I want
and-
105.
I'm thinking 83 foot-pounds of torque. And looking at their charts,
That's probably actually.
and I hit 80. I hit 80 with the
I think you're
585.
going to be closer to 90.
Shane,
I think you're
If
going
I
to
hit 90, I'd be
I
the
think-
happiest guy on
Put
earth.
your fuel in a cooler
100 horsepower
and then run it.
And I think
Cool
you
that
might-
fuel
might
down to
miss
about
90
40
torque.
degrees.
At like
Fuck yeah.
4,500, 5,000, you may
You-
hit
my
90 torque.
only argument with that is I didn't see anybody hit 90 torque with that cam.
So I
Out of how many people did you watch?
A half a dozen at least. So even with like head work and 1250, 1275s, everything. So I figure if a 1275 is going to make 105, my 1200, 100.
So
that's the way I think about it.
Well,
I'm-
what's the
I'm
cu-
running
what,
an
what cubic
N4.
inch is it? Because you're probably like what 1.15 or
73, 74 cubic
so like
inches.
1.15, 1.2
couple of horse. Couple
Cubic-
of torque.
like,
That's what I
horsepower
figure.
per inch?
Yeah, maybe 5,
So I'm running the N4 Andrews.
which
And-
is similar to the
I
560.
love the profile. So when I rebuilt the motor, I didn't want to change the cam because it's a good mid range. I didn't want to chase top end because I didn't want to sacrifice the low end
Same here.
for coming out of the
Yep.
corners and everything else. So
That's how I built
instead,
mine.
I just put over ratio rockers to get more lift.
Yep.
So
now that still kind of moves you up.
it
doesn't
does like
A little bit?
500 RPM maybe.
Not much, because really all you're doing is you're increasing the speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
The valve moves
so
from bottom to
maybe-
top a little bit quicker.
maybe 400 or 500 RPM, you're moving that graph, but not much. No, it's not changing the whole cam profile. But Rev did my heads, and I was like, I just want a new valve job, and they're like, well, for another $500, we'll flow, import, and polish. And I'm like,
hard
fuck it,
not
all
to.
right, whatever. So I have like a 196 intake and a 165 exhaust in a Sportster Buell,
Yep.
Sportster head,
That's
Yeah.
which
I'm
is
curious to
as
see
big
what
as
yours
they
is.
can go.
Yeah.
good.
So
pulling in.
it's like it's close to a 110 twin cam
You're
Screaming Eagle valve size. So
I was going to say you're probably going to be, I would imagine, pretty similar to mine.
yeah,
Like if I had to guess, I would say you're probably, because the 560 is kind of similar to the N4 with a little more duration.
yeah.
So you've got the over ratio, which is going to give you a little more duration just because of the time.
Maybe a 1725.
And a little more
Yeah.
lift. So I don't know. You might actually be able to put me out. We'll see.
So
I don't know.
we'll see.
We'll see.
I don't think
I know those
all in
fuel
the
injected
rider.
bikes always do so well. In the bike, you know?
Sportster fight.
When you can tune a fuel injected bike right, they just do so much better.
But
Yeah.
you have a 58
on
millimeter
the chart.
throttle, and I have a 42 flat slide
So,
carb.
okay,
on the
so
chart-
I
on
wanna
the chart,
touch that.
We're going to beat it.
I
Not when I'm
contacted.
tuning it.
I contacted. and
Yours is in uncorrected.
Hey,
Crossing
Roy,
it
don't let him touch your bike anymore. The fix
So-
is in, man.
nah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Until money changes hands, the fix is fucking
No,
in.
because if I go ride that thing like 200 or 300 miles and it blows up because it's fucking lean or something, he's gonna feel like shit. I know that, so he's gonna do it right.
No.
you know?
It's not
Yeah.
going to feel like shit. He's going to be like,
Yeah.
I don't know
Shit
what
happens,
happened.
bro.
Ready to go again? Mine still runs. I don't know.
I don't know, man. But man, I was getting so low.
"Fill up that bag of cigarettes." I told you. it
My
was off.
arm, I told you. Go over by the car before you pass out.
I am curious to see what yours does.
The Jackal is one of the best movies
Oh.
ever
I mean,
made.
you know, to get 100 plus horse out of an old carbureted Sporty is a hell of a feat. You know,
Yeah.
that's
I'll be
that's,
there.
That's
I'm getting
for real.
there.
Yeah, you should be. I would think you would be.
Cold fuel and jets.
And then
He won't make it.
Let it eat.
you know, then we're gonna have to swap bikes and ride each other's. You know? I told Fox, a couple other people, I'm like, when my bike's done, you're gonna have to ride it. You're
So
gonna have to go take it out.
you were
see what it's
talking
like.
about rev limit and tipping over.
Oh, so
I set my rev limit to 7,500 on my Dyna ignition system.
Hell yeah.
All
It's
it did was
a little
make
high.
noise, and
Hell,
because
dude,
I
run it.
didn't have the over ratios yet, and I had the Buell heads and the N4 without the over ratios to the valves, I peaked at like 6.8,
and you just carry
and
it
then it
out.
just like carried, and it's just all noise, and then you shift, and then you shift, and you're like, yeah, it's there because I could have
You're
shifted
going
at
too far.
7
Yeah.
and still been there.
So,
So I have
It's
had
funny
time
you
to
say that.
play.
We get back to what I was talking about, and I'd contacted him or say, hey, where can I set my rev limit? because I spend time there.
70
Did we
22.
talk about this like 10 minutes ago?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we never finished it.
Oh,
But you're like,
So-
haha, I'm there
Yeah.
all the time.
He's like,
Which is
well,
why you blew your
know,
motor.
and you guys,
Which is why Mike's like, put fuel on
Yeah.
it there.
so you guys can
because
appreciate
you live
this,
at fucking
okay?
5,800 RPM.
You guys can appreciate this. So I contacted him from the beginning and said, hey, man, I got a Harley Stage 4 kit. Screaming Eagle heads, 58 millimeter throttle body, 585 cams, high compression pit. I'm about to tear it down. What do you recommend? You know what I mean?
What's your
We've all
compression?
been through this. 10, 5 to 1.
Oh, that's nice. That's cute.
Yeah, 10, 5 to 1. So
Let's try 11-2.
Yeah, we
I-
decked you. Dude. Hey, we decked the
dude,
shit
I
out of your
fucking
heads.
blew a
dude.
head
11
gasket with
11
10.5.
Fuck yeah,
I
we
blew
did.
a head gasket at 10.5. Why
My-
the fuck would I do
My
that?
little carburetor is 11-2.
Hey.
So anyways, let's stay on topic
Fuck
for a
yeah,
second.
dude.
So
That's cute.
now we get this call a lot. I just did an M8 Harley Stage 4 kit and I don't like it. What do I want to do?
Because
You don't like it because you blew it up. I went, and it went boom.
Well, this is the beginning of everything. So I get the speech that I know you've probably given a million people, and it's a little different because it's sporty, which was, well, those 585 cams
oh, I thought you were
are
saying
Harley EPA cams. There's not a lot of overlap. They're not doing you any favors.
I thought the difference was
Okay.
like you wear
Now wait.
Vans,
It goes deeper.
Short
It goes
shorts.
deeper.
gift stripe tube socks.
It goes deeper.
Any
The
of
Screaming
the
Eagle
SE
heads that you have aren't that great.
Eh,
They're torque heads.
Our heads are better.
Mhm.
Okay. I mean, long story short, I'll keep it short.
Right.
And that 58 millimeter throttle body that you have is point,
What?
which is there's probably some truth to.
Except
That's
that
a lot of throttle body for
It
It
is.
is.
It's a,
Or-
dude,
It
yeah,
is.
if you
It's a
put that in
lot of throttle
perspective,
body.
58's what they
It
put
is.
on 110s,
Oh, yeah, I know.
170s.
I got a 42
So-
and
I have a hard time being like,
Shane,
oh, well then
Shane, throw it
let
down,
me
dude.
get rid of these bigger heads and this bigger throttle
Pinks, raise your
body,
pinks.
right? You know what I mean? Because that's basically what his first thing was. We'll get rid of that 58 millimeter throttle body. In fact, I was told that by more than one person
put a 50
Well-
on it.
because I tried to find an intake that wasn't the giant fucking dildo that I have on there. But no one on the planet but Harley makes an intake for that 58 millimeter throttle
And
body.
then also you were like, it's black.
I'm
All right,
in
as long as it's big and black, it'll be all right. But nobody makes one, and so I call people. And they're like, "Well, just get rid of that 58 millimeter throttle body."
You
and
can't
I'm like,
take anymore. He's like, I gotta leave.
"So 58 millimeter throttle. Why would I get rid of my bigger? I'm thinking in my head, why am I going to get rid of my bigger
You're gonna
throttle
throw
body
away
so
your
I can
big
run your
black
fucking
dildo?
air filter? That's
Right.
stupid,
Yep.
So I've been told this by multiple people, like, get rid of those heads, get rid of that throttle body. And I just cannot wrap my head around that because on the flip side of that, how many bikes have we seen with Harley heads and Harley intake like they're set up and we just throw a cam in it and that thing is fucking great.
but
They have
hey,
small throttle bodies.
Well, yeah, maybe.
but look at this.
Well, but here-
I
well,
have higher flowing heads, more compression on a 1250,
so take that,
running a 42 millimeter flat slide carburetor.
faggot.
You're running a 1200 kit with
Ineffectual.
smaller heads or smaller valves
Got
with
nothing.
More
with
throttle
a
body.
58 millimeter.
And
So
red hair.
that's gonna help you. May help your top end, but it's
Oh, I
not
hope so.
helping
That's
your
where I
bottom
live.
end.
Got nothing.
And that's where we get into the red limit part of the story, which was I got the speech about, well, the top end of your motor causes more wear and heat, and it's not really good to be there.
Hey.
You should only be
Yeah,
in that
tell me about
area
it.
every
You're
once in
gonna-
a while.
you're
And
gonna
I'm
need to
like,
do some editing on this because Riker's gonna listen to this.
I don't give a shit. Yeah. So, and I'm like, you
Riker
don't.
knows
I literally,
when you're
that's where
talking.
you're talking
Come on.
about me laughing. I literally
Come on.
laughed out loud when I read it and was like,
Oh, look at this.
you don't know me. You obviously don't know me. I want to be in
Hang on,
there.
bro. I got a
But-
picture of that. That's good shit.
Oh,
Come here. Come here. We'll get a picture.
Ah.
Oh, dude, man. You know what? I'm supposed to do a picture. Check this out. Let's see if we can do this.
He's like, that's why I don't hang out, man.
We have. Absolutely.
Yeah, y'all are out of control, dude. Come on, man.
This is
Come on.
ending very expected.
I didn't grab your hair yet. That's later.
I won't spank your ass or nothing.
Why not?
Grab another chair. Sit down. Say something like, I don't know.
Like
Say something,
getting
Jordan.
traffic.
You gonna rap?
Wait.
Am I gonna rap?
Dude,
Yeah,
this-
Post Malone. You gonna rap?
No. He's high from tuning.
No.
All day, every day.
That 25,000 CFM fan, there's no way he's high from tuning. He wasn't here for the tuning days of non-fan.
It's fucking thing.
He's high from Mike. He's high from tuning.
What?
No, he goes,
High
he's
from-
no. I said he's high from tuning. I'm like, he wasn't here for the non 25,000 CFM fan tuning days. Were you?
Come at me,
So-
bro.
The red eyes.
Come at me, dude.
Come at me, bro.
Come at me, bro. I want to touch another subject.
Why are you mad,
Because
He's just so
I
upset.
haven't finished the red limiter.
no, that was it. That was it.
Well, no, he was like,
Oh well, he said the valve train will handle 75, but he would probably set it at 72, which I've already set it at, and
Which I
that
set
you
it
really
at.
shouldn't be up there very often.
right.
So
Like,
we'll see.
Don't trust this guy.
So we'll touch that. So I come in that day, and I'm like, all right, because I do understand what happens in the dyno. So I come in that day, and I pull up his stuff in the dyno. I'm like, well, I'll download his map here. That way we can copy and paste, and I get it, and it's like the worst fucking text format you could ever imagine. And it's like each column is totally separate,
His
and
timing's
numbers.
super soft.
I'll have to show you. I have the papers. I'll have to show you. So I see this, and I'm like, oh my God, there's no way to copy and paste. This has to be done one line at a time.
Oh, fuck.
And I got here about 20 minutes before he did, and I saw
It was
that.
an
And I was
hour and
like,
a half before I
I
got
was
in.
like,
we're done.
fuck it. I just went in there and I started building the map. I'm like, boo, 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 just number by number by number. And he comes in, he's like, what are you doing? And he saw it. And I was like, yeah, this is going to suck. So
It's
I'm
gonna
going to
be
go
a
ahead
minute.
and do this for you. So I did the timing tables and I did the FR
But the
tables and
timing
everything.
is soft on the bottom.
We gotta work on the bottom a little bit.
The
But I think
timing is super soft on the bottom.
he,
well, here's the deal, though. Part of that, though, is your throttle body.
yeah.
Your throttle body. Well, so the 58.
You have a lot
Why
of no
everybody's saying
airspeed.
that's way too much throttle body is because, like, okay,
That's what's used on the stage 4 twin cams.
well, no, look at this.
Yeah, 110s.
When
Yeah.
you,
No, we have 114 Milwaukee 8s, 114 cubic inch. What is that, like 1856?
Yeah, something like
So
that.
stupid.
Something like that. And you have 1,250 cc's, right? So there's a 700 cc swing between these, and we're putting just a cam, leaving the 4-valve head. So granted, it's a really efficient head design,
Yep.
so it's a really good flow design. But these come stock with 50s, right?
no,
52s?
Yeah,
they're 58.
No,
No.
no, stock
No.
Milwaukee 8. I think
It's a
it's
55,
50.
58.
Yeah.
I think they're like 52 or 50,
Yeah.
55, whatever.
The
It's a 55,
the stage
Might
4
be
tire
55.
shredders go
I'm
to
sorry,
a
58
58.
at the
Yeah,
front,
but anyway.
58 at the front, 55 at
Anyway,
the throat.
so we're putting out 115, 118, maybe every once in a while we'll hit 120 horsepower on a 55 millimeter with 700 more cc's. So you have a 58 millimeter throttle body. Now, when you start to rev it up, there's no velocity
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
so big.
So it's dropping.
That's
So
where
there's no pressure.
that's where the throttle progressivity would be an advantage on a bike like mine as opposed to the cable.
Right.
Where when you're
'Cause you can
cable,
slow
you
it
just
down.
you just open it up. Correct. Yeah, you could slow it down in the
actually
beginning.
need to
Yeah.
slow your throttle down to give you more
Correct.
bottom end.
So
rather
when
than
I-
speed it up.
So that's
But
where
you have
we're
a
struggling.
cable.
That's where I know. That's what I'm saying. So that's the
So-
problem. When I do 10% throttle, it's 10% throttle exactly immediately. Where with throttle progressivity, if we hit 10, it
you
might.
could make it 6.
Yeah. You
On
can
a-
make it
on
open
electric
slowly.
throttle,
and,
yeah.
and
So that you can use the blade to create the
And that's going to take some work.
A 50 on his would actually help him
Well, they're
out.
40. What's a stock? 48. 40 is, it's got to be more. It's got to be more than that. It's got to be more than that.
48.
42. Well, if you put a 42 flat slide on there, I bet a monitor
Probably
40.
44.
All right, check this out.
Yeah.
HPI has a 40,
HPI.
45 millimeter. That would be perfect for you. Ready to go.
Yeah, so
But
it's
that's a
only
58.
$1,200.
His amp goes to 11.
Yeah. But I want one more. I want to be able to go to 11.
But here's the deal, though. Where you ride, it's your throttle body is actually not that big of a deal because
No,
You
I ride
ride
high
with
RPM.
4
when
to
you
7.
ride it, when you're at
It's
6,000
not even
RPMs,
$1,000.
at that point, the bigger throttle body isn't really negatively affecting you
No.
because you're
No.
running off of maximum.
It's just on the
Intake,
bottom that
It
you're
runs-
losing.
The problem is now is that I'm not always accelerating.
No, you're
Well,
topped out all the
So I
fucking
get
time.
I get to where I need to be, and then I need to get back down in that chart, and we're not right in that chart. So it's
if my,
hard.
So
You
if
know,
my
I gotta, like,
chart's
stay up
so if
and-
my
yeah.
chart's a little lower than you, but I take you off the line, I got
Hey,
you.
so
I'm
you
hearing
need
what
to-
you're saying.
You need to
I
down.
want to see this race.
Well, that's what
I
I've
just
been
wanna
doing.
see
I've been
this
keeping it
race.
up in the RPMs. Yeah,
You're gonna want to keep it
yeah,
like
Right.
3,000,
Let's-
4,000
His,
RPMs all the time.
his
Let's line up a
2 to
date.
225, it's like, I'm like, yeah, it's because
Well, it's not running right down there. It's for
I
sure.
want the
It needs,
Sportster off.
like, there's a dip that you can see in the map, and I can feel it. You know, so I
Yeah.
think we can tune it out. No problem.
but if
You know.
you're holding at those positions, that's where it wants it.
the HPI has a
no, that's the
45,
problem.
50,
I've hit
51
that
and
dip
55.
at like 30 miles an hour in third gear, which when you're in traffic, that's about where you're at.
Yeah.
And I can feel, I know, I can see it
But-
in my head.
but
That map,
between-
there's a dip
right
in the
on
map.
the
It's
edge.
right in there, and I'm like, and I'm like,
But-
shit,
but-
downshift, and then get higher up in the RPMs.
But at 2%
yeah.
and 8% there, holding, just not
Yeah.
not rolling
Well-
on, that's where it wants it.
But you'll got to get in there and come back on it a little bit. Hold it. I guarantee you, one of those cylinders is way leaner than the other.
You'll be able to
Guarantee
smooth
it.
it out, but part of that's going to be that MagnaFlow exhaust too, because this is where, like, if you were to run the short shots like he was talking about earlier, you'd have a much more stable curve at those lower RPMs.
Yeah,
because
that
of
bike didn't like the bottom end either.
because of the
at all.
additional.
It was a better
Right.
curve, but it didn't run very good at the bottom end.
It ran great. It ran good. Just didn't.
It idled. It sounded like it
It-
idled on one
it
cylinder.
made more.
Yeah.
it
Mine
made
did that
tw-
with
it
the
made
585
12
too, though.
12 more torque
That's
than
why I
yours.
went with the thrashing
Yeah.
with mine
Wait,
because it's
Doug?
got that big, huge collector and it's real long.
Yeah.
So I mean, I realized it's probably not going to be the most wide open machine, but I don't give a fuck.
And,
I don't even
and,
know if my sport's going to run.
and I'm and you know what? I've been looking at thrashing just because.
I would have bought. Now my choice would
talking
have
about their compression.
been my choice. If I was going to buy one, would have been thrashing, but it would have taken me another
11.9.
year before I could
Yeah.
afford that.
Mine's 11.9 to 1.
Yeah,
With
let's-
585 fueling
Let's-
jack.
Correct.
Let's see if it
Or-
runs.
I have 54 cc combustion chamber.
Yeah.
And they're polished. You have to wear sunglasses to look at them.
I have 50, but
Oh, that's shiny. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to run my coil towers because I'm running 4 individual coils.
yeah,
Hey, can you offset that spark?
no,
What do you mean?
No. Well,
Absolutely not.
Yes, you can actually.
no.
Why? Why do I want to offset the spark?
Well, you offset it when your exhaust valve opens to burn off your
That's what
exhaust
I'm
as it
saying.
comes
Can
out.
you do a
Yeah,
cleanup?
I know about
That's
that.
what I was
Voltage
talking about. A
spark.
cleanup
yeah,
spark.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
when you
Those are
built,
emissions. And
when he
shit,
built
dude.
the
Yeah.
4-plug setup. I was wondering if he was going to do that or not.
Yeah, it has the high 4 ignitions have multi spark.
That's what I was wondering if you're going to do.
All right,
I don't have that on mine.
topic number 2, and we
Topic
can run
number
through this
2.
one.
Talk
we're-
about-
What the fuck?
Like, it's gonna be a
We're
1 hour
talking
show.
about-
Topic number
we're
2.
eighty- We're
This
85
doesn't-
minutes in, man.
Yeah.
We're 6 topics
We-
deep.
No. This is a quick one. Battle
Hey.
of the Baggers.
Mm.
Okay, is
Hey, did you watch
just
the
happened.
race this weekend?
I did.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I did. So
God damn it.
it
I-
needs to be
worked.
talked
God
about.
damn it.
I
It
worked.
needs to be talked
I don't want
about.
to talk about it.
If you didn't
It needs
watch
to
the
be- I don't wanna
race,
talk. He doesn't want to talk about it.
I don't want
and
to talk
here's
about it.
here's
Hey,
some
hey,
of my thoughts.
Don't make him talk about it.
Don't make him talk about it.
Indian
First one.
won.
Right
wanna
off
talk
the
about
start, Wyman took it.
Okay,
Right off the start, and
Done.
led the first 4 laps.
and we're out.
And okay, first 4 laps, it
It's a
looked
cheering.
like he was having a hard time keep up with it. It looked like,
O'Hara.
Correct.
O'Hara
On the Indian,
was
okay?
hustling.
But
He warmed
we also
down.
don't know whether or not he was holding back. Okay.
He well,
now
was not
wait.
holding back.
he wasn't.
Here's
holding
my
back.
theory.
He was
okay,
pushing.
and I'm going to try to get to this quickly. So, like 3 laps to go, he got on his ass, and it was somewhere around 3 or 2 laps to go that he passed him. Okay.
And then he passed him back.
There was some exchange, and they battled, but I think
Wait, like a battle of the baggers?
like a battle of the baggers.
That's awesome.
Interestingly enough, if you didn't watch the race, those 2 guys were so fucking fast that they lapped 2 other bikes.
Yes.
And
And there
The
were only,
other
I think there was
guy-
only
Oh, yeah.
6 on the track.
third, there was 5 on the track.
Was it
Oh,
third
Jesus
merchant?
Christ.
Hey, they always lap the privateers.
Third, which was the other Indian, was over 20 seconds behind them.
Back.
I
Yeah.
mean,
mean,
to take that
They
dude out.
fucking waxed everybody
They
else's
waxed
ass. So
everybody.
that needs to be put out there. Those 2 guys
No, I
rode the
have
fuck out of
2
those
things
bikes.
to say. First
Thought
of all,
you didn't
let's
wanna
say,
talk about
well, I'm pissed off because Indian won. And that's why I didn't want to talk about it. Good.
So
Well done. He has no practice, by the way. That was completely coincidental, just so you know. Anyway, O'Hara, he's an animal.
Well, he's
dude,
been riding that bike.
I don't know,
for
man.
18 months.
Wyman impressed the fuck out of me
He
because
is
I
an
think
absolute animal. He is the best on the brakes.
How come
I think
never
those
have-
Indians
you-
are set up
you
better.
keep drinking my
They
beer?
are set up better.
Oh,
I've been-
okay. Man,
I
you
think-
gave me all the beers. There's no beer over here.
They all
So they
moved over
talked
here.
about this
Shame.
during the race. Okay,
Shame.
the Harley is an air-cooled steel, frame bike.
Yeah.
The Indian is a water-cooled aluminum frame bike.
Yep.
Fuck those guys. Goddamn Canadians.
So what I think's going
They
on
took our jobs.
They took
is
our girl.
if they move this up to a 20-25 lap race, the Harleys wouldn't
Yeah,
stand a
because
chance.
did you notice what happened on the cool down
I
lap?
think as
The
they're
Indian
running,
broke the chain on the cool down lap.
well, yeah,
Well, he wheelied it.
yeah,
and then
yeah.
the chain
he broke
came
the
off.
chain. But my theory is,
The wheels came off. And
as
again,
we
though,
get
as 2 races in a row.
5-6
Hey.
laps in,
Stop fucking around. I need a
that
beer.
air-cooled motor is doing this with power,
Yes. Well,
and that
wasn't just
liquid-cooled
that.
motor is staying the same.
if you watch the race, though,
So wait, so
setup
kind of
wise,
like-
you could
I
see
love high
Wyman.
school teams.
Come on,
I
man.
keep getting older, and they keep
Stay
staying
the
the same
same
age.
If you watch the race carefully, Roy, Wyman the whole time was on the edge. He was pushing the limit of what that tire could hold with that suspension.
Yeah.
He's like off on the edge, and he was using 100%. And
Grab-
O'Hara was
grab that
laying
one.
back there,
Grab that
kind of pacing him a
That's
little
yours.
bit.
That's yours. Don't
What
pass
I-
it.
I just got one.
What I'd hoped he would have done was backed off a little bit and then put some pressure on him and see if he could have kept him going a little bit, and then made that draft move because he pulled the draft move. He actually got by him down that straightaway and repassed him after he was passed. Racecraft wise, if
Well,
he'd have backed
get it
off just a
by.
little tiny bit, laid back there and run his race and stayed close, and maybe let O'Hara back up into him, he could have made that
That sounds
move
like a
at
sexual
time for
move.
him.
Well,
No, it's
We'll
racecraft,
see. Up
man.
into him.
you can't
races
happen
use-
quick.
Racecraft.
Oh, I was like, racecraft.
You don't use all of your
You
stuff.
ain't done
All
crack till you
race
done
long.
race crack.
Jesus
Fuck
Christ.
that regular crack. That shit
I quit.
sucks.
It's time to just drink. the time for conscious discussion
If
is
you're
ended.
not watching these Battle of
Wait,
the Baggers,
conjugal?
this is
conjugal
big.
discussion.
All right,
Hey, let me
It's
have
not
that.
big. It's like 8 minutes.
no, I'm telling you right now.
Throw me the dip, man.
What is
God
the
damn it.
most sold road bike in America?
The Goldwing.
No. It's the Harley touring bike. Okay? There are fucking Harley touring bikes in every
This
goddamn
Suzuki
garage.
SX650.
Okay. Nobody's fucking riding around on meter bikes.
I
So we're
think
back to where we started when I was like, why don't they just fucking make a performance bagger?
Well, yeah.
Because we sell
I
more
think
of them
one-
than anything
I
in the
think
world.
one
So,
out of every 2
Mike for
touring.
president.
Hey, look,
Hey,
Mike for
one
president
out of
of
every
Harley
2
Davidson.
touring motorcycles sold in the
Passac,
world
we just
are
circled
Harleys.
back.
So the
And we
reason
actually did it.
the reason that NASCAR made it in
Every
early
great
in the
comedy
early
has a circle
days
back.
Moonshine.
Gotta
was
reach
because
around.
the people
Moonshine.
no, it was because the people that watched were the people that drove those cars.
I'm pretty sure it's because Budweiser.
I think it says
sponsored-
moonshine.
Not in the beginning. Well, you're
What you
talking
got
about
next shirt?
moonshining
Cause
days. If you
Well,
want to
no,
go back,
when
but
they
Moonshine.
when they actually went on TV, I think it's because Budweiser sponsored.
but people watched it. Why don't people watch Indy cars?
Because
Indy cars are fucking way better race cars
They do.
than Ford fucking Tauruses are.
yeah, but you know what? They're
Way
not
better.
They're not
You
as
know
good
why?
as Formula One though.
No, because nobody drives a fucking Formula One car, so nobody watches Formula One. They don't give a fuck.
Formula One is the pinnacle. We all watch Formula One.
I understand. Listen,
the
to me. I'm
pinnacle
talking
of
about
racing.
the masses. Okay,
Pull it back, bro.
Well,
people
you're
watch NASCAR. NASCAR's way
All
fucking
right.
bigger than Formula
Wait,
One.
No, it's
No, it is
not.
Not anymore.
Yeah, it is. In
In
America,
America,
it is. In the world,
in the
maybe.
world, it is not.
In America, and this is what I'm talking about. Okay,
America.
You know what? Fuck everyone else.
you know why flat track racing gets exciting? Because people ride
Because they crash
Sportsters.
and it's free.
Because they can see Sportsters racing on the flat track. Nobody gives a fuck about the dirt bikes out there. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Well, and 'cause
People come out to watch the Harley.
He is super intense right now.
People
Dude,
want to watch baggers race. I'm telling you, this
Dude.
is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
I
am
watched-
telling you.
I watched it twice.
okay, okay, Roy, okay.
Hey,
It's
I'm not.
because people
I'm with him
own
though. Now
baggers.
he's talking right.
No, I know you. I know you.
Even the truck
Well,
series,
a little
the
bit,
truck
right.
series
Well,
did really well
Listen,
for a little while because guys drive trucks and they want them to be fucking cool.
Yeah.
Why you
Yes.
keep pointing at me?
what's cool? Hey, what's cool about it? What's
I'm
cool
not
about it?
arguing.
I wasn't. I was
Formula
doing
One.
this.
Hey,
Other than Formula One
Whoa.
is way more
Listen,
popular than NASCAR.
I
as
have
far as
I have
racing.
some experience. I
Wait,
have some
wait.
experience in this. All right. When I was racing, I was really close to Mesa Marin Raceway, which is where the Craftsman Truck Series started.
Yeah.
That's where that series started. They built the first truck there. They tested it there, and what's cool about it was kind of stock. And then what you always see
Like
is a
farm
mic.
truck.
No, not farm truck.
Farm trucks, cool.
Different racing. But you see this like constant migration from like a stock motorcycle or a stock car.
Hey, give
And
me a
then
beer. I'm out.
it-
Send one this way.
I hope what they do with this
There's
is
no
they
more.
keep it really close to factory. I really hope they keep it close to factory, even though the bikes that we saw race this week, like, were
They're
not
not close to
close to
factory.
factory
They're not
at
gonna
all.
be. They're
They're
not
already
going to
not
be.
close to factory.
They're
So
completely
They're going to do
changed.
just like they do with anything else. There's
But
going
that
to
is
be
cool
the
to
badass
watch.
class, which is,
Once it starts getting monetized, it's going to be out of everybody's reach.
Now,
and then they'll.
Oh,
that was money, man. If you're not watching this YouTube video, you are missing out.
Yeah, because it just doesn't make sense. You're like, why do they keep laughing? This
Yeah,
is
what the
fucking
fuck is
lame.
going on?
all right, put your cup out
Next
there.
podcast.
So, anyways, I wanted to touch on that because I think it is way bigger than anybody is really letting on yet.
Son
I think
of a
Harley
bitch.
realized it really quick. That's why they have a factory bike in there.
Hey, World War II was like that.
Everything's like
In the beginning, World
He's
War
not
II.
throwing shit over, dude.
It's
Way
empty.
bigger.
There's no dumping.
Huh?
Bitcoin. In the
It-
beginning, people were like, yeah, maybe it'll be worth
Got my
something.
Doge.
Yeah, you got your Doge.
Hey,
Dude, I got Ethereum.
Marcus-
Ethereum's been doing fucking really well.
Hey, Marcus was showing me these memes, and it was like whenever they talk about Dogecoin on TV, and it's like, did you see that one? And he's like, it was who's that fucking guy that's like real short. He was Gilbert Grape.
Leonardo
Yeah,
DiCaprio.
DiCaprio. And he's like sitting there with one of his movies, and he's like, "Hey, Mom, they're talking about me." And he's like a little kid, and I was like, "That's fucking funny."
The best is cleaning crews who come in and goes, where are these
Crypto,
bottle top
man.
from?
Crypto's fucking hard not to play with right now.
Hey, crypto's how they're going to destroy the fiat.
I put a couple $100 into crypto, and it's more than a couple $100 now.
Oh,
Hey,
hey.
hey.
All right.
All right, that's enough. I'm gonna
All right. No.
I'm gonna throw another intro in here so that I can mix that in. But yeah, we're getting out of hand.
Yeah.
I think it's time to wrap things up.
We usually only drink 19
So if
beers.
you're listening, if you're
Well,
listening to the
I'm on my
podcast,
second one because they kept giving mine away. I had all the beer, and I never got any.
Oh no, they all went this way and then they all went that way.
if you're listening to the podcast, go to YouTube/Talking Brap
They
or
took
whatever
our
it
beers.
is. Find us on YouTube. We do unedited versions of the podcast
Unedited.
on video, unedited. And,
So wait a minute. Does that mean whatever version they're listening to is edited?
No.
on the podcast, I clean things up
Why would you do that?
because it's
Because
a podcast.
Otherwise, it's just laughing. And there
Yeah,
are people like, this
yeah.
is dumb.
Yeah, it gets a little out of hand. We get out of hand.
I gotta tell you, you gotta be slow to listen to this.
It's mainly people that do what we do, man. I get a lot of messages from people that are like, "Yeah, I'm a service writer in
Do we
California."
like have a good
and blah,
time and
blah, blah."
stuff?
Yeah. Hey, our direct competitor up here, they listen to us.
Service writers, they try to copy everything we do.
Yeah.
You saw both on Horsepower Night, right? They even copied our font.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, dude. They was like, they like
Winner!
Horsepower Office. Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, we got
George.
Some of the guys
Brought
at
us
Boswell's
back.
listen to us.
dude, you're
I know
good.
a bunch of those guys, so I'm not surprised.
Aaron's office, but like, fuck those. Fuck,
Hey.
I'm going over there right now with
Hey,
hammers.
hey, next
Dude, I wanna
time,
go
next
there.
time,
I wanted
next
to
time
bring
they do a horsepower
bikes.
night, we need to
You
get all.
stabbed the guy with a trident.
She probably laid low for a
Hey,
while.
we need to get. Hey, next time they do it, if
Uh,
your Sporty's running mine, yours,
My school's not even to like 2023.
yeah, he's the way out.
Aaron will be with you on that on this Twinkie.
We need to go to the drag strip.
Yeah,
Hey,
maybe-
no,
maybe next
Like next
year.
month.
So,
Next month, we need to go to drag strip.
but no,
My bike isn't fucking done.
He's not going.
Next month.
Next month.
Oh no, next month?
but
Next month. Not
But-
this
Next month?
well, next
I'm
month,
so
comedy night
excited.
track. Tuesday, comedy track. It's right after it.
But no, when Bumpus does the next thing, we should just bring all our heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Oh, close.
Damn, that
Don't
was so
forget,
close.
check us out, talkingrap.com.
Oh,
Cheese.
Millimeter
I think we lost control.
It's time. It's time to call it. Look, even Jamie's in. It's done now.
Time to go.
What the fuck is
Time
going
to
on?
go.
It's time for bed, kids.
This is what we do.
Why the fuck are you still in my place? Get the fuck out of here.
Next topic.
All right. Are we ready for topic 3?
Next topic.
Next topic.
Started on 3.
Dude, your aim is fucking crazy good. Holy shit.
Play beer pong with this fucking guy, dude.
Fuck that.
All right. We're signing off. We'll do this again. Thanks for listening.